When we compare Chinese and Western philosophy, we are trying really hard to understand the deep cultural differences between China and the West. These differences arise from the unique ways of interpreting the world, and I have a few explanations about how these differences came to be. First off, the geographic environment plays a role in shaping different principles of social order. In China, our principle is based on family ties, and from there, we establish the principles of social order. In Confucianism, they are called the five constant relationships, those between ruler and subject, father and son, husband and wife, siblings, and friends. Based on these fundamental relationships, the Chinese are expected to treat one another with a certain code of ethics. The most important value within these relationships is all about the loyalty between ruler and subject. Note that this is not the same as the three fundamental bonds and five constant virtues, which were concepts introduced by Zhu Xi, not Mencius. Mencius stressed the significance of loyalty between rulers and subjects, and the value of this relationship lies in the idea of loyalty or faithfulness. This trait of loyalty and righteous conduct is kind of like the code of honor people uphold in those martial arts stories. Why is this loyalty so important? Well, the ruler and the subjects do not have a blood connection. Therefore, what can solidify the bond between them are the ruler's benevolence and the subject's loyalty. The ruler should be kind-hearted, showing love and care for the people, and in return, the subjects should be loyal to the ruler. To conclude, the key principles that shape social order in China are based on the five constant relationships, and the most important one is loyalty between ruler and subject. We do not have a monarch ruling over us anymore, so we might think that this idea about ruler and subject no longer applies. However, even without a specific ruler, the Chinese civilization still exists, and all Chinese people are part of it. We can see the whole civilization as the ruler, and the citizens as subjects. The problem now is that it seems like this civilization does not show love for some of its own people, which causes some to run away. This civilization needs a fresh start, a chance for everyone to stay loyal to it. Even for those who left, they still feel loyal to it as if they still feel they are a member of the Chinese civilization. Otherwise, they would have no place to call home, always wanderers living in a foreign country. This is the relationship between ruler and subject, showing an important value in life, loyalty. Another Confucian idea is that affection should exist between father and son. This relationship requires both sides to put forth effort. The father should care for the child, and the child should respect the father. It is not a one-way relationship in which one blindly obeys the other. It does not mean that if the father wanted the child to die, the child would have no choice but to comply. That would be ridiculous. Let's talk about husbands and wives. They are not related by blood, so what is their relationship based on? According to Confucian ideas, distinction should exist between husband and wife. It means that husbands and wives have a shared destiny but play different roles. There are things a wife can do that a husband cannot, and vice versa. Nowadays, many people talk about gender equality, but it is a very vague concept. For example, the husband cannot give birth to a child. Because of the differences between husband and wife, achieving true equality does not appear feasible. In Confucianism, marital relationship is all about having a shared destiny with different roles, creating a special emotional connection. In Western culture, this emotional connection takes a back seat to romantic love. Westerners describe the emotional connection between men and women with the word love, so they go on loving each other for their whole lives. They say, "I love you" every single day. It moves us too when we hear it, but deep down, we know the expression is not quite accurate. Before getting married, it is all about, "I love you," and even after marriage, it is still, I love you, on repeat. Let's be real, that is not how the brain works. Not to mention, there is a problem with the phrase, I love you, because it puts one person as the subject and the other as the object. Do Chinese people talk like that? Only nowadays, after we picked it up from Westerners. In the past, we never used to say such things. How did we express love back then? Well, it was more like, you troublemaker, or, you heartless person. We used to call our other half, that annoying person, or even, my arch-nemesis, but in a loving way. These seemingly strange nicknames show what relationships are like, tough and heartbreaking, with moments of annoyance and even hatred, but still very hard to let go of. The truth is, love is not all rainbows and sunshine every day. You and your love interest might have been holding hands under the moonlight just a second ago, and then bam, you have a huge fight. Both of you feel like you really hit the bottom this time, but you put on a tough act and leave them. The next day, what will you be waiting for during school or work? A text from them. If it does not come fast, you will probably feel anxious, disappointed, and even hateful. When this text finally arrives, full of sweet words, all that hatred vanishes into thin air. You see, calling each other arch-nemesis is actually quite fitting. It is not about, I love you, and, you love me. For the Chinese, we see life's value and the connections between individuals as interactive. It is not like two separate beings coming together, where A and B are already established. A is influenced by B, and B is influenced by A, too. On the other hand, Westerners believe in these pre-existing entities. They say, I decided to love you, or, I decided to no longer love you. This sounds odd to me because it may not be possible to make such a decision. The expression, fall in love, is one that we agree with more. It is a good expression because, in the majority of cases, it describes the process to be like falling headfirst into something, and at one point you realize it is too late to regret it. When does it become too late to regret? It is when you are married. Marriage brings about a significant change to the relationship. As we learnt in Taoism, everything moves to its opposite side. For romantic love, its opposite is marriage. With marriage, romantic love fades away, and it transforms into this unique kind of familial bond. It is not exactly kinship because it is not based on blood relations. It is something special, but I struggle to find a word that captures its essence in any European language. This special bond is best described as a marital relationship based on long-term companionship, acts of affection, compromises, and mutual understanding and respect. The special bond one spoke of requires an interactive relationship. It is the combination of kindness and love between a couple. It is not the same as the love between a parent and child, which is best described as an exchange of compassion from the parent and filial piety from the child, and even for that kind of love it is not possible to find a single English word to describe. The Chinese emphasize 5 important aspects of life, and each aspect plays a key role in giving our lives meaning. None of them can be overlooked. First off, they cannot do without their nation and homeland, that is the whole ruler and subject relationship. Also, they cannot go without their dear old parents or having their own kids. Nowadays, in China, young people who choose to not have children are on the rise, and we call it the DINK, double income, no kids, phenomenon. Most of the time, the decision is made to cope with the pressures of modern capitalist society. However, most people actually want to have kids. It is just that the costs and challenges involved can make it tough. Nevertheless, having some kind of parent-child bond is really important, whether it is the bond with your mom, dad, daughter, or son. Now, let's talk about the marital relationship. Some folks believe in lifelong love without getting married, and that is totally fine. They are free to make that choice. At the same time, those who choose to not marry will be missing out on one of the 5 relationships, the aforementioned special bond between spouses. For someone who wants to pursue romantic love for their whole life, their love interest is bound to change from time to time. For most people, once they fall in love and reach a certain level of commitment, marriage naturally becomes the next step, right? So, if you claim to be all about lifelong singlehood, do not be surprised if you end up falling in love over and over again with different people. At some point, you may change your mind and want to experience that deeper marital bond between spouses. To conclude, for Chinese people, the marital relationship holds a significant value in life, just as precious as romantic love itself. However, when it comes to Confucianism, romantic love is not directly discussed. It is worth noting that in the teachings of Confucius, love is not a topic explicitly mentioned when talking about human social life. We will not delve into this topic for now. Now, let's talk about brothers and sisters. The government-initiated one-child policy from the late 1970s made things a bit complicated in this department, causing several generations of people to be the only child at home. However, I hope and expect this policy to end soon in a few years, since this policy will no longer be necessary in the imminent future. In Confucianism, there is a certain order among the siblings. Younger siblings must show support and respect to their elder siblings, while elder brothers must be kind and look after their younger siblings. This relationship is also an important aspect of Chinese life. Another important aspect of life is friendship. Friendship is not about blood connections but all about how we interact with others in society. In the West, people do not put as much emphasis on friendships and focus more on rules and contracts. But for the Chinese, they interact with friends in a special way. It means being able to get into each other's personal space without awkwardness or the feeling of deviation from social norm. Friendship can override the need for privacy. For example, 2 Westerners who are best friends may still not feel super comfortable about the other party invading into their private space. For 2 Chinese besties, they want their friend to invade their space. Someone might spill their guts and tell all their secrets to their friend because it is just too tough keeping things to themselves. That is just how Chinese friendships work. Therefore, trust must be the foundation of these tight friendships. Friends assume this: what I share with you, you won't go blabbing to others. Having that deep trust in someone means to have a friend you can count on. Of course, it is not just about keeping secrets, it is way more than that.